Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
Well, Josh, you really threw me for a loop here because I had prepared a top 7, and then just an hour before the recording time here, you asked me, can we do top 9?
Were you not at the production meeting where I said we're not doing top 7 anymore, we're calling it favorite?
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
Okay, Skip, so today we're going to talk about our favorite cereals of all time, which, by the way, if you had asked me this question, when I was 15 years old, the answer would be completely different than it is today.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to our cereals, I want to let you know you told me about this show on Netflix a few weeks ago called Queen's Gambit, and I started watching it, and I actually finished watching it.
Isn't it amazing?
It is quite amazing, actually, and I watched it pretty quickly. I mean, it's only 7 episodes.
Yeah.
But I really, really, really liked it. I'm disappointed that there's not more episodes.
I wanted it to keep going. Like, when you realize it's coming to an end, it's like, oh, it's over? What the hell? It's over?
Although, that's almost better than the show dragging on and then sucking. Because sometimes shows, they just drag on for years and they become stupid.
Well, a lot of times what happens is, and I hope this doesn't happen here, and I don't think they can, is like a show has a great idea, right? They're like, we have a great idea, so they make a season 1 and it's amazing. But then the show gets popular, so they have to make season 2. But then it's never going to be as good because it was never meant to be more than one idea. So I don't think they can do that here because there was a clear ending, I guess she's only 20-something when it ends. It can go on her whole life. Who knows, but right?
Well, yeah, and the other thing was, like, at the end, she never actually got on the plane to go back to the United States, which I found very strange.
Oh, so you think she stays in Russia?
It's like a reverse Americans.
It's the reverse. She's going to become an American spy in Russia. Anyways, yeah, great show. I'm glad you liked it. I didn't know do you consider it a sports show?
It's funny you mentioned that. I don't consider it a sports show, but I was talking to someone else who recommended it to me. And, when I watch a sports movie, baseball, hockey, whatever, I can tell if the actor actually knows how to play the sport.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, I don't know how to play chess. I'm wondering if people who actually know how to play chess, if they're watching this show, can they tell if the actors know how to play chess?
Well, I know how to play chess, but I don't know how to play even 1/100th of the level that she's portrayed at, right? So, I don't know what's going on during the games. I think you have to be a super chess genius to even follow what's going on in the games.
Right, but what I'm asking you is the moves that they made on the board, because certain pieces can only move in certain directions.
Yeah. No, I think that's all accurate.
Were the moves accurate?
I didn't think they have to be, yeah.
Okay. My other question about chess is, so let's say you get two geniuses playing each other who are which is what happened at the last episode, right?
Well, it happened more than once. She played against other geniuses, but maybe she was more of a genius. I guess.
So then what happens then? Shouldn't it go down to the last 2 pieces on the board if both people know everything there is to know about chess?
I think we have to get but that was the amazing thing about the show, is that you think that you're just some kind of super genius that you're just going to win, but you actually have to study and you have to know certain strategies, right? He's doing this strategy. Well, that means I'm going to counter with this strategy. And I think that plays into a lot. I think that the amount of books that they read to learn about what the opponents are going to do, I think that's a factor. Anyways, we're getting really nerded out about chess.
No, that's fine. It's fascinating to me. So as good as she is, there's still more for her to learn.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas normally when you're the best at your whatever sport or game, you reach a certain point, that's it. You can't get any better, but she can.
But did you hear at one point they referred to her as an instinctual player?
Right.
That's her style. It's instinctual. I'm like, oh, there's a style? What do you mean she's instinctual? Isn't the whole game like that? But I guess if you're that good, there's one game where she played where she does the second move or third move of the game, and then her opponent's like, oh, I lost.
Right, because they could see that there's no way they could win.
And it's just, I don't know. It's just weird. It's not weird. It's just it's a whole other level of comprehension of something that I think you and me and 99% of the people who watch the show can't even imagine like being that brilliant.
I remember, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe more. Was it Gary Kasparov was the chess champion of the world?
And that's more than 20 years ago. Isn't that when we were little kids?
Okay, so 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever it was. And they had him play against a computer, remember?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't remember who won.
I don't know. We'll have to look that up. So she's fictional, right?
Right.
And I think the Russian guy she plays is fictional because I looked it up and it's not like someone that exists.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the players that she played are not real. Like the guy who's like the American champion, the guy with the cowboy hat, he's not real.
Yeah.
Right? Because the American champion during the time that she was playing was Bobby Fischer. That's like the only chess player that anybody has ever heard of other than Gary Kasparov, who you just mentioned. But it would be Bobby Fischer. But at one point, she's rambling off. She's talking with the, one of the guy that likes her, the guy that fixes teeth, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay, he comes over and he's trying to help her study and all this, and they're talking about other players, and then one of them says, "Well, Koltanovsky played 22 matches blindfolded," and then I pause the show and I'm like, "Oh my god, okay, I am related to George Koltanovsky, that chess champion that they talked about in the show, so I know that he is real."
Hold on, you knew that you were related to him before you Googled him?
Yes, I knew. As soon as they said his name, I'm like, oh my God, I'm related to that guy. Because I remember my grandmother used to tell me stories about how we had this distant cousin who lived in San Francisco, and his name was George Koltanovsky, and you can look him up in the Guinness Book of Records because he played X number of simultaneous blindfolded chess matches.
How do you play blindfolded?
I don't know, but I don't know. But all I have to say is I know that player is real because I knew about him and I know I am related to that person, which is really kind of a weird, cool story sidebar. Anyways.
That is cool.
So do you want to talk about anything else before we get into the serials?
No, but I think you said you had listener mail.
Mailbag.
Yeah, I have listener mail. So Stephanie from Montreal via Facebook. This is all listener mail about our last episode, which is songs with the names of cities or places in the title.
Yep.
So Stephanie from Montreal, she mentioned London Calling by The Clash, California Dreaming by the Mamas and the Papas, and then Leaving Las Vegas by Sheryl Crow. And she put an exclamation point on that one. I think she was mad that we didn't include that.
There seems to be an inordinate number of exclamations.
Well, I felt that the writing lacked a certain emotion and intensity.
It was a damp and chilly afternoon, so I decided to put on my sweatshirt.
And then via Twitter from our friend Jesse in Dallas. Via Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. He gave us his whole list, but I'll just tell you that he had a couple of interesting ones that we had similar, which was I Love LA and Werewolves of London. And he had a couple of songs that I didn't even know. London Homesick Blues, don't know that song. And The Night Chicago Died, don't know it either. And he gave a good shout out to Glenn Campbell, Wichita Lineman, which is a song I really liked, and I think I should have put that in my honorable mentions. And then I gave myself a note. I gave my own listener mail via me, not listener mail, but feedback, because I was listening to my music on my phone on shuffle this week, and the song California by Phantom Planet came on, and I was like, how come I didn't put that on my honorable mentions? So people who are not familiar, that was the theme song of the show, The OC, a show that I never really watched, but I like the song.
I like that song too. I completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we're doing serials now.
We're doing serials. Like, tell me, look, you mentioned last time when I said the topic was going to be favorite cereals, that you don't eat cereal anymore.
I haven't eaten cereal in many years.
Right. But I haven't eaten cereal. I eat cereal occasionally, but not as much, obviously, as I used to. I don't eat breakfast anymore. So that's part of the reason why. But it's funny that you told me that you don't eat cereals anymore, because when we lived together, you ate cereal every single day.
I did. So until we moved in, I ate cereal every single day of my life, probably. And it was just not the first year. I don't know if it was the second year that we lived together when I got off cereal and I got on to bagels.
Right.
Because we had home court advantage or home ice advantage in that there was a real bagel right across the street from where we lived. So I could get
Right.
fresh bagels anytime I wanted.
Right.
So
That
that's
was-
when
that was
when I
unfair.
switched.
That was unfair to the cereals right
it,
there.
it was unfair to the cereals, and that's when I switched from cereal to bagels. And then I never looked back.
Okay, good. So how hard was it for you to make this cereal list?
So this list, I finished this list seconds after you told me what the topic was. What I really like about this list is that it required no research whatsoever. So I really enjoyed doing it.
I texted you yesterday saying, "Oh my god, I haven't even started my cereal list." And in the 2 minutes or 5 minutes that it took for you, not even maybe, to reply to that text, I had already completed my list.
You started and finished it.
I ordered it this morning,
Right.
but I wrote down all the possibilities, really quickly. And it's not that hard to do. But one thing that's going to be interesting, for our American listeners and Canadian listeners, there's definitely some cereals on my list that I believe are specifically Canadian that you can't get in the United States. And there's others that are vice versa that I don't think we can get here. And I used to buy them anytime I could go to the US, So
You're absolutely right. There was a cereal, I don't even remember what it's called anymore, that you could not get in Canada. And every time I'd go to the States, I'm like, okay, let's buy as many boxes as we can fit in the car.
was it Apple Jacks?
No, it was not Apple Jacks.
All right. Anyways, we'll get to that, I guess. So my list, I go first, right?
That's right. And we're doing 8.
We're doing 8 because I had 8. We agreed off air on 8. So I'll give you my before I start. Sorry, I'll give you my honorable mentions first. I don't think you have any honorable mentions. I think you just had 8.
I just have 8.
So I have 4. Actually, it's not really honorable mention. So Honey Bunches of Oats is an honorable mention, and Honeycomb is an honorable mention. Come to the Honeycomb Hideout. Actually, so much of this list revolves around the commercials that go with the cereals.
That's true.
Yeah. But my wife wanted to mention the 2 cereals that would definitely be in her list that I said I couldn't put them in mine because I never really had them. And that's Grape Nut O's. And she said she thinks her number 1 would be Count Chocula.
Okay.
And she was very precise about Count Chocula from the 80s because she thinks it's a different formulation now compared to when she
I
had
don't
it.
doubt her one bit.
Yeah. So that's my wife's 2 cents. She manages to get her way onto the show almost every week.
Without actually
Even though
hearing her voice.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty weird. All right, so number 8. Oh, by the way, we got some feedback that the voiceovers of the numbers, when we have the little voiceovers of the young lady who says the numbers on our list, that she sounds annoyed when she says 8 and 9. And that's because she was annoyed. So I still decided to just keep them as is.
Number 8.
So number 8 is Golden Grahams. How do you feel about that? You don't even care about them.
No, I mean, that's fine. I mean,
I don't eat Golden Grahams all the time. I don't think it's a cereal you could eat every day because it's crazy sweet. So every now and then when you have Golden Grahams, you're like, man, that is really, really good. And then you have it again the next day and you're like, yeah, that's still really good. And if you have it a third day, you're like, nah, let's give it a break because it's too much.
okay.
So that's Golden Grahams.
Number 8 for me is Shreddies. And the only reason this is on my list is because this is the first cereal I ever had as a kid. And, for I don't know how many years, I thought this was the only cereal that existed. I mean, I knew there were other cereals that existed, obviously, because I saw the commercials. But I never tried any other cereal probably for about a decade. And to be honest, if you tried to get me to eat them now, I wouldn't touch them.
I believe Shreddies is specifically Canadian. I don't think you can get them in the US.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure of that, but that's my feeling.
Okay.
Number 7.
So number 7 for me is something that I mentioned earlier, Apple Jacks. For the longest time, you could not get Apple Jacks in Canada or maybe just in Quebec. I don't know. I used to buy them when I used to go to the US. And then for a short little window, they started selling them here. And now I think they're gone again. I don't think we can get them. So that's Apple Jacks. But I will tell you something about Apple Jacks. If we made a list of top of the best residual cereal milk, if you follow what I'm saying,
Yes.
the milk left in the bowl, after you have the cereal, Apple Jacks is number 1.
That's because it's mostly sugar and hardly any cereal.
Yes, that's right.
It's basically what that cereal is.
Yeah.
Number 7 for me, you mentioned this already, Count Chocula. Now, I haven't eaten Count Chocula often, but I wanted to try it at least once because I was fascinated by the fact that the milk becomes chocolate milk, and I like chocolate milk.
But it's not really chocolate milk,
No,
is it?
it's not.
Just,
no.
It's
So
sugar.
actually, this is another good one for residual milk. But so it's on my list, but I mean it's number 7 on my list. It's not like one of the top ones.
Right.
Number 6.
So number 6 for me is like one of these tried and true cereals that's probably been around forever, and that's still good to this day, and that's Rice Krispies. You know, first of all, the commercial is great with the snap, crackle, pop, and it's a cereal that you can always go back to. You know, it's good. It's as good cereal to have in your pantry, just to have it there because you never know when you might want some Rice Krispies.
The only thing, I don't like Rice Krispies because if you don't add sugar, then it's awful.
No, but that's why it's good.
Okay.
And actually, you know, on the boxes now of Rice Krispies, because my wife likes to buy it all the time still, they specifically point out that it's a low sugar cereal. Like, they haven't changed the recipe, but they're pointing out to you that this is a low sugar cereal compared to all the other crap that you're buying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 6 for me, you also mentioned this earlier, Golden Grahams.
Oh, nice.
I like the sweetness of the Golden Grahams.
Well, I remember when we lived together, I don't remember what cereal you ate every day. I don't remember which one it was. But it was, you ate one particular cereal every single day. And then one day I bought Golden Grahams and I told you got to try this. And then you tried it. And then for like 2 months, you just ate Golden Grahams and you ditched the other cereal that you had been loyal to.
You'll hear the cereal that you can't remember. It's coming up on my list.
Number 5.
So number 5, well, I was going to say it's the healthy alternative, but it's really not. And this might also be a Canadian cereal. I don't know if it exists in the United States. That's Harvest Crunch, the regular Harvest Crunch, traditional standard, because there's different variations. The Harvest Crunch is amazing, first of all. But the thing that I kind of like and dislike about it is that it markets itself as this granola style healthy cereal. Mm-hmm. But if you read the ingredients, there's more sugar in Harvest Crunch than just in any cereal. There's just as much sugar in Harvest Crunch as there is in like Frosted Flakes.
That's very funny because yes, the packaging and the marketing all make it seem like it's supposed to be something healthy.
Exactly.
Okay, so number 5. So I think this is the cereal that originally you couldn't get it in Canada and I had to get it in the States. You can get it here now and it might have a different name because you know some cereals, they're available in both countries, but they have different names sometimes.
Yeah.
And you could just watch that video by Joe DeBenedictis to find out what I'm talking about. So anyway, the cereal I'm referring to is called Corn Pops.
You're 100% right. In the United States, I don't know if it's called Corn Pops or if it's called...
I don't know what it's called in either country, but I know it is Corn Pops.
Puffs, maybe? Puffs? I don't know. But yes, there is a different name. Yeah.
So anyway, that's number 5 on my list.
They're too big.
They are big, but I like them.
Yeah.
Number 4.
Number 4 for me is a staple in our home, and I still do like it from time to time. This is what my son eats every day. He takes after you, believe it or not. And that is Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Also full of sugar, but delicious. And great residual milk.
Number 4 for me is none other than Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
It's a great cereal, honestly. It's really good.
It is. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. There's like 2 variations of the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Oh, sorry, no. I'm thinking of French Toast Crunch. Have you tried those?
No, those are bad.
Actually, no, they're not.
You like them?
I think I like the French Toast Crunch. I forgot to put it on my list, but I do remember liking them.
Nice.
Because they look like little tiny pieces of French toast.
They're very cute because they make this yellow coloring on them to make it look a little golden. They're well done, actually. Yeah.
Number 3.
So number 3, I definitely know is not on your list. I mentioned to you off air last time that I like mini wheats, and you said you hate mini wheats.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Well, there's a million variations of mini wheats now. I don't know if you realize. There's like frosted, unfrosted, different type of frosting, ones with centers, stuff in the middle, all kinds. But at one point last year, there was a limited edition mini wheats called Mini Wheats Vanilla Latte.
Oh, that sounds
Okay.
fancy.
Now, we bought this and my daughter tasted this and she goes, "This cereal is amazing." And I agreed. It was fantastic. So we went and I bought like 2 boxes. And we had them like in sort of like in storage in a sense. And now like when we wanted to buy more, we can't get them. Like they were really limited edition. You just can't get them anymore.
By the way, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. I was a few years ago looking at the cereals because I wanted cereal for some strange reason. And I had never purchased cereal in about 10 years. And I'm in the cereal aisle and I see all the boxes. Cereal is crazy expensive.
It's really expensive.
It's like the most expensive thing in the grocery store almost.
I never understood why it's so expensive.
I still don't understand.
I think it's like running shoes, okay? Now bear with me. When you buy like Nikes or Adidas and they're like why are these shoes like $200? Why are these shoes $150? Honestly, those shoes are not that expensive, Nike shoes or Adidas or Reebok. Well, Reebok is dead now, but those shoes are so expensive because the commercials are so expensive. So I wonder if the commercials, there's so much advertising around the cereal that it jacks up the prices. I don't know. I really don't know.
Speaking of cereal commercials, so when you see the picture on the box of the cereal in the bowl with the milk in the process of being poured.
Yeah.
So to shoot that photo, that's not actually milk. It's glue.
Oh no, but that's every food commercial. Like when you see a commercial for Burger King and you see this perfectly like grilled burger, who knows what that's not even meat and there's all kinds of shellac and paint on it basically.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right, so
what am I, number 3?
Yeah, 3.
This is the one that I ate like nonstop for years when we lived together that you forgot about.
Which was it?
Frosted Cheerios.
Oh yeah.
I was addicted to Frosted Cheerios.
Yeah, you needed an intervention on that.
It was not normal.
That was in like a white box, right?
Like a light blue.
Oh, I see. Yes, right. I remember.
Because it was frosted, light blue.
So you're off those now?
I've been off those since I got on bagels.
Good.
Number 2.
All right, number 2 for me was in your list already, and that's Shreddies. Regular, normal Shreddies. Every now and then I'm like, ooh, maple syrup Shreddies. Gonna try those. Big mistake. Or they have like another kind of flavor, cinnamon, whatever. Big mistake. Regular, normal, traditional Shreddies are the way to go. And my wife knows that like anytime we go grocery shopping and she's like, oh, I'm gonna buy cereal for the kids. She's like, do you want to get Shreddies? She asked me, do you want to get Shreddies? Because she knows I like Shreddies.
So number 2 for me, you mentioned it earlier, is honeycomb. Because when you remember, when we lived together, I was addicted to Frosted Cheerios. But what you may not know is before we moved in together, I was addicted to honeycomb for years.
Wow. I told my wife that honeycomb was going to maybe be in the list, and she's like, they're too big. How could those be in your list? They're too big. But
there's nothing wrong with big.
I know. I think they're good, no? Like, I like honeycomb. And the commercials were great. Come to the honeycomb hideout. That was so good.
Sometimes you'll get like one of the honeycombs in the box. Something happened wrong at the factory. And instead of being like a honeycomb with a little bit of sugar, it's like this huge thing of sugar with like very little honeycomb. And you can't eat those because they're so sweet, you'll get a cavity instantly.
It's a sugar bomb.
Yeah. So you can't actually eat those. They're too hard. So you have to throw those away. I actually considered once, because you get 1 or 2 of those in a box. So I considered keeping all of them, like every time I would get one, keeping all of them until I had like a full box of those. And then I go back to the store with a full box of like all these bad honeycombs. And I say, look what you sold me. I want a brand new box of honeycombs.
So did you ever do that? No.
No, I never actually did.
You'd have to collect honeycombs for a long time to fill.
Well, I mean, I did eat them for years, so I probably could have done it.
Right.
Number 1.
All right, we're arrived already at number 1, Josh.
This is great.
So my number 1 cereal is a cereal that you cannot buy in Canada. And that is Cinnamon Life. Now, you can buy Life cereal in Canada, But Cinnamon Life, you cannot get here. They did sell it for a while. It was a special edition here, but it never came back. And it's one of my, it's a problem for me. So I do love Cinnamon Life. Every time we go shopping in the United States, I make sure I buy it, often multiple boxes. Not as much lately, but for a while I was pretty hooked on it. And it's a tremendous cereal. That's why it's number one.
Great. That's a good number one. I can't say that I've actually ever tried that cereal, but...
So I don't know what's going to be number one for you.
Well, you've already mentioned my number one, and it actually comes in 6 flavors, and I'll tell you which are the 2 that I like. And this is the cereal that I've eaten most recently because I actually, when I was at the grocery store, I don't know, 3-4 years ago and debating getting cereal, this was the cereal that I bought, and I ate it for a few months, and then I stopped.
Okay.
And it's Quaker Harvest Crunch.
Oh my God. That's number one.
It's number one. But the 2 flavors, like it comes in 6 flavors. The 2 flavors that I like are the honey and nut and the raisin almond.
Really? But not just traditional regular?
No. Not that one. Now, the other thing about this cereal is it's best to eat it not with milk, but with yogurt.
Oh no, that I could see. Yeah.
So that is
like
why,
a granola. It's like
that
a granola.
is why I liked it so much, because I was able to eat it with yogurt.
Yeah, it's like a yogurt topping, a crunchy
Yeah.
topping. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have to try some of the other variations.
So that's my list.
That's a great list. We never did one of these lists so quickly. We have nothing to really talk about them other than how much we like them.
That's okay.
We could have gone in to do research and say, Rice Krispies was invented by, the Kellogg's company in 1932 or whatever. But we didn't do that much research this week.
I'm glad we didn't do that. And also, like, we could have gone over the nutritional facts of each cereal, but I wasn't ready to do that. So,
well, I think most of the items in our list don't have nutrition.
The Skip and Josh podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. To interact with the show, send an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. Follow the show on Twitter @skipandjosh, and go to facebook.com/skipandjosh to like the show page. To see links mentioned on today's episode, go to skipandjosh.com. And now for some final thoughts from the guys.
All right, so do you have, last week you didn't have anything to end the show with. Do you have something this week?
yeah, I know I talked about this last week. We talked about how the Rangers are not letting Alexis Lafreniere play in the World Junior Hockey Championships. And you explained to me how the Rangers think it's more important for him to attend training camp. But I have a conspiracy theory, and it's that they're an American team and he's a Canadian player. And I'm saying that if he was an American player and Team USA wanted him, I think the Rangers might be a little bit more lenient and let him go play.
That might be possible. That's not really so much of a conspiracy theory, but yeah, that might be possible. I actually think that might be true.
So I just
did you see that? Did you see that Canada made their final cuts for the World Juniors?
I did, but I mean, I couldn't name you any one player on the team.
Well, I could.
Did the goalie from Dollard make the team?
Yeah, Devin Levy. He made the team. He's a kid that my daughter knows personally, my son too. And my son actually played against him when they were much younger in novice and Atom hockey. And he was a great goalie even back then. Even in Atom age, he was a standout. And actually, it'll be interesting because my son actually scored on penalty shots against him twice in the same game, which is like it was pretty amazing,
So is Team USA going to hire your son as a consultant to tell them how to beat this guy in a shootout?
Well, I think that their games have gone in different directions since they were 11 years old, So yeah. So needless to say, it's kind of going to be cool to see a kid playing for Canada that, we know. I know his dad a little bit, to say just enough to say hello, but my daughter knows him a little bit more personally because one of her friends is dating him, and like I said, Matthew played against him quite a few times, so it's really cool.
That's very cool. I had a couple other things, unless
I do have something else. I do have something else to follow up on. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Remember you had about what bugs me about how the new iPhone wasn't going to have the charger anymore?
Right.
So I read an article that's saying in Brazil, they are forcing Apple to sell it with the charger.
Why is that? Because no one in Brazil has the old charger?
No, they're saying that they cannot find enough evidence to prove that there's a positive environmental impact that Apple is claiming for not having to put the charger in. And furthermore, they feel, and I think we agree, that the charger is essential for the use of the device.
It sure is. It's like selling someone a car, but you got to pay extra for the key to start the car.
Right. Well, actually, some dealers do charge extra for the key, but but that's another story. But yeah, anyways, I thought that was interesting about the iPhone because it was pretty amazing. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about, I just wanted to tell you about, and I know we've talked about it on via text. Duke stinks, by the way. They stink.
They're not good.
And they're not good. And I actually think they're not going to make the NCAA tournament if there is one. But I think they're not going to make it because their record's going to be bad. They're going to be middle of the pack of the ACC at best, and they're not going to make it.
By the way, so I don't know if you heard the comments that Coach K made after the last game.
Yeah,
where,
I heard. Yeah,
he's saying that the season should be paused or whatever. Which, I mean, before the season even started, he said they shouldn't start the season. So he's just
But at one point last year, he was like, "Well, we can't have." Before several months ago, he said, "Well, there's no way we should be able. We have to have a tournament this year. We can't have 2 years in a row without a tournament." But now that his team stinks, he's sort of changed his tune. Although it's not just his team stinking; it's like they've had a lot of games canceled, and it's hard.
I don't know if you heard what the Alabama basketball coach said. He basically took a shot at Coach K, saying the only reason he's saying that the season should be paused or canceled is because his team is only 500 and they just lost 2 non-conference games at home.
Right. And that never happens, right?
So, I mean, I've never heard of this Alabama coach before, but he's got a big mouth. He's got balls to say something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, Coach K, when you're at the top, there's only one thing that happens, like people like to take shots at you when you're at the top, and the winningest coach ever, the most storied program ever, you're a target.
Speaking of basketball, I mean, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. The NBA is a joke, I think.
Why?
Well, so, I mean, there's more talk during the off season than there is during the season. Like they're always talking about like when this guy's a free agent and when that guy's a free agent, he's going to go to this team and he's going to go to that team. And they're always like 2 years ahead, right? They're never talking about what's happening on the court now.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that annoys me is, I get it. If you're a free agent and you want to go play for another team, go ahead. I mean, that was collectively bargained between the league and the players. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem with is players who are under contract and demanding to be traded, even though they have a year or two left on their deal. And it's one thing to demand it, but they actually get what they ask for. So, the NBA has become, it's become? It's become the Captain Softball League.
It's like our softball league that we used to play in, right? Yeah, get me off this team, put me on another team. Otherwise, I'm not playing, right?
That's exactly what it is.
And you're right. Players get it because the NBA is a 100% player-driven league. The players are the league, and the league knows it, right?
And that's fine. If they want to continue like that, it just means that, what are there, 30 teams in the league? So, like, the fans of 24 of those teams pretty much know they never have a chance to win the championship.
But every now and then there's an exception to that. Like the Milwaukee Bucks, they drafted Giannis Antetokounmpo, and everyone laughed at them, and now he's the best player in the league. So they did have their chance to win the title last year, this year, maybe next year, and that gives them a little window.
But sure, they drafted him, but as you've heard,
yeah, I know,
the chances are he's going to leave their team.
Well, no, that's why I'm saying they had their win. Yeah.
And
that's what I'm saying. They had their window.
And they're going to have not won a championship. But you're right. There are exceptions. I mean, the fact that Toronto won a championship was practically a miracle.
It actually was.
Because the league, I mean, if you listen to conspiracy theories, the league wants certain teams to be in the finals and they want certain teams to win. And
I don't believe that.
And one of the teams is not Toronto.
I don't believe those conspiracy theories. Although, obviously they don't want Toronto in the finals because it's the worst ratings that's their worst ratings that they can get because the Canadian ratings don't count, basically.
Right.
But anyways, all right. So I'm glad we've got some sports in there, Josh. But what the people want to know is what's our list next week?
Oh, okay. So now is where I have to reveal.
By the way, I was so happy that I don't have to make a choice this week. I felt so much pressure last week with the cereal. I was like, thank God Josh has to choose the next topic.
So I've got about 9 or 10 things, 9 or 10 topics that I wrote down over the course of the past few months.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only 2 that I really like of those 9.
Okay.
And one of them requires some work on my part. So I'm not going to pick that one. I'm going to pick the other one. Mm-hmm. And it's favorite ice cream flavors.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm not a big ice cream guy. You go to
DQ.
No, I eat ice cream and whatever, but like ice cream is not like something that thrills me. But yeah, that's a good choice. That's a good, very, very good topic.
And I'll allow gelato as well.
Yeah, we have to get some ground rules.
Gelato is allowed.
Can I give you like a specific flavor from a specific place?
That's recommended, yes, because when I go to certain places here in Toronto, there are certain flavors that I like.
I hear you. Gotcha. So I guess I'll talk to you next week and we'll talk about ice cream.
Yes, we will. It's not the right weather for it. And also, are we doing our year-end episode? And when are we doing that?
No, we'll have to figure it out. But yeah, maybe in a couple of weeks. No?
Well, that would be Boxing Day. Are you going to line up at Sam the Record Man on Boxing Day?
I wish. First of all, I wish I was able to go line up somewhere, and I wish Sam the Record Man still existed.
Nice.
All right, talk to you next week.
Okay, bye.